Hey y'all, so this is going to be a quick video about gender and how it's seen in the spiritual world and why it's significant, why it actually does have a significance. I know this is kind of a hot topic nowadays, so um, in no way, shape, or form am I trying to offend anyone. I'm just giving you what the Holy Spirit has shown me and the significance as to why is it that he made man and woman? Why did he make them in these two categories? You know. So um if you saw my testimony video, I talked about how there are certain graces afforded naturally to women and naturally to men. There's um afflictions that also will be more likely to come upon women versus men and vice versa. This is because spiritually, men and women are viewed differently. Not in the way that we as human beings necessarily view the difference between men and women, if that makes sense. For instance, a lot of history says that women have been considered second class citizens, discriminated against, blah, blah, blah. Ironically, it's flipped spiritually in that women are seen as more valuable because they bring life. So women actually are more attacked, more afflicted, more abused, more all this stuff because they're actually seen as more important, if that makes sense. So that's kind of an interesting thing to sit with. But yes, men and women are seen differently in the spirit realm. Not so much, okay, from God's perspective, it's not like a value thing. Like, I know some people say that, like, oh, God is sexist or whatever. But, and I guess they might be referring to I think it's in Leviticus when it's talking about a male slave, the price of a male slave versus a woman slave, which already sounds terrible, but it's not like a value thing. It's like, again, if you saw my video, sorry. It's not a value thing. It's in the sense of, oh, well, I think like a man is worth, like, I'm making something up, like 200 shekels or whatever it was, and a woman is like 100 or something like that. It's not that, oh, her worth is less from God's perspective. It's that as far as like the amount of work you can get out, physical labor you can get out of the man will be more than the woman, if that makes sense. Which that really shouldn't be that offensive because physically men are just built different. That's not something to be offended by, but everybody's offended by everything nowadays, so whatever, be offended if you want. So I hope that makes sense. He's not saying that like you're less than because you're a woman. God's not. He doesn't view it in that way. I'm trying to think of another example. I feel like there's other examples that we twist it. No, there definitely are. But for the sake of this video, I'll just stick to what I need to. But yeah, we twist it and think like it means something way more offensive than actually how he sees it, basically. So, in the spirit, you are seen as different. In the spirit, there's a grace and a heritage afforded to women, and the same with men. Now, it's not to say that every single man only possesses like these things. Like, no, it's and same for women. It's not like that. but it's just to say that there are natural, how do I say it? Natural um things bestowed upon the women gender and the man and the male gender. Um and that's just how like God ordained it to be. I hope that makes sense. So, for instance, it says in the word, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So there's a natural favor upon women from God's perspective, like a natural favor. I don't understand the ins and outs of it. I can only give you what he's given me. But there is a favor that is given to women that is more so than with a man. Meaning, when a man finds a wife, when he finds a woman, he is now entered into a place of favor that he would have not had before. That favor is probably with um, God as well as man, or with man as well as God, however you want to say that. And I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know what that looks like, but that's just, what he gave me as far as like um that's one of those things where there's a difference there. So let me give kind of the difference spiritually, how the two look like, and just talk about a few things and then in this. So women spiritually and naturally possess a grace of wisdom, understanding, strength. What the? Sorry, I can't read my handwriting. Way with words, fruits of the spirit, nurturing position, and favor. So what this means is that naturally you have all of these graces afforded to you, even if you don't really consider yourself, if you're not really a wise woman, you don't consider yourself that, it's always something that you can tap into, and it will come to you a lot more naturally than it will your average man. Now, are there men who are wise? Absolutely. I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I'm just saying, typically speaking, there are people who the women race is that the right way to say that? The woman gender, I guess, I don't know, is naturally graced with wisdom more so than a man. Again, not trying to be offensive, that's just how it's said. There's even psychology reports that you can look up that will say that studies have shown that women are more smarter than men. Now, one important thing to realize with that is that smarts and wisdom aren't the same thing, and they aren't necessarily what's the word, mutually exclusive. You can be smart and not be a wise person, but if you're a wise person, you're going to be smart. So there's that. So yeah, wisdom, understanding, strength is actually one that we don't talk about enough. Just like I said, in the spiritual world, women are actually seen as more valuable. We are actually seen, or should understand, at least on a personal note, definitely on a societal note, that we're actually a whole lot stronger than we realize. Men possess physical strength and, to a degree, mental strength, but women possess all the strength: physical, mental, emotional, all of it. Again, I'm generalizing. I'm not saying every single specific woman. However, you always have the ability to grow in these things because it's your natural spiritual DNA. So if you have a little bit of it, you can expand it. If you feel like you have none of it, you probably do, you just don't realize. You can expand it. Like, that's the great thing about that. And yes, I said women are physically strong, because you try pushing a watermelon out of your... Yeah. um out of your butt. You you'll have a hard time. Fruits of the spirit. I talked about this in my testimony that, you know, it's really hard to carry the capacity of Christ's love and his grace and all that, and not become a more like graceful and gentle being overall, to really carry that. um like, I don't mean just logically you understand it, I mean like you actually walk in that way. It's really difficult. um Nurture and favor. Oh, way with words. That's really important. I actually was just reading Proverbs, ooh, I think it was like 5, talking about staying away from an adulterous woman and how her words are like honey. And I found that so interesting. And I was convicted shortly after that when you do, or not convicted, sorry, that's not the right word. The Holy Spirit spoke to me. Whereas like when you do give in to this type of woman in this type of situation, automatically there will be certain afflictions, certain curses that'll come up on you. The reason why I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, go off, is because we don't realize so much of life is spiritual. And we don't realize that there are natural consequences, or I should say, not natural consequences, I should say spiritual consequences to things that we do in the natural. We might not see the results of it, the here and the now, but they're there. They're absolutely there. Now, that's not to make you like paranoid, but that's just to tell you that there's a reason why things are organized in the way that they are. Why God has set up the hierarchy that he has. Like, not only like within the household, but um just in general. And in Genesis, when it talks about us ruling over the earth, obviously we've messed that up, but there's a reason why he has it that way, that it's, now. And only reason why I'm mentioning this, sorry to come at some people, but people are starting to really like scare me with um their, how do I say this politely? People are really becoming, at least in my view, almost pro pet, almost to the detriment of people. Like, I'm starting to see more people advocate for pets in a way that is like, you know, I just, it just seems like, wow, this seems like kind of an extreme a little bit. Like, I'm no, like, listen, if you abuse an animal or anything like that, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. If you abuse an animal or anything like that, yeah, you suck. Absolutely. I said what I said. But I mean, it's like people are ready to like, I don't even know. It's just crazy like how this is starting to evolve into something that just seems a little like, okay, or like what's this gonna turn into? I don't know, but it's just like, I mean, like, what I'm saying shouldn't be that far fetched, because there are literally people who would look at me, look at you, who might be a meat eater, and actually think that we're the enemy, actually think that we're the devil because we eat meat. We contribute to, like, it's that narrative is being like pushed, and I'm sure it's only going to get more severe as time goes on. But sorry, I'm starting to like go on a tangent. But yeah, it's just like crazy some of the stuff that people are saying nowadays. Um, but what was I talking about? Oh, way with words. So yeah, women or I was talking about how naturally there's consequences that this is why he's this is why the Ten Commandments is what it is. This is why sin is what it is, because you deviate from this and there's consequences that you don't realize that you are causing. But everything has a cause and effect, whether good or bad. So there's that. But way with words, anyways, women are graced with a way with words. And I realized that in my testimony video, when I said the thing about, speaking with a gentle tongue, like, and all of that, I could see how someone could like misconstrue it and everything. But I thought about that a little bit more and I realized, like, for those who understand things by the Spirit, what they'll actually hear is, oh, so I actually really have a way with my words. Like, my words really hold weight. Obviously, words in general do, but a woman's words are a very powerful thing. I feel strongly that we can I'm not advocating for this, but we can get away with pretty much anything if we know how to say the right words, if we know how to appeal to just the right person in the right way. Whereas I don't know if men can do that. I haven't seen that superpower, but anyways, um so all that to say there are basic um graces afforded to women. Now, there are basic graces afforded to men as well, of course. I don't know all of them. All that I got was provider, strength, in parentheses, physical strength, and a covering. So these are the natural ways in which a man is looked at spiritually speaking. And so, one, I'll just speak about like covering, for instance. So basically, um, actually, yeah, okay, I'll just go with that. Basically, someone who's a man is automatically seen as a covering, spiritually speaking. Whether it be for a wife and children, for just a wife, for a community, whatever. He is naturally seen as a covering. Forgot the word. Or you could also say the word provider if you wanted. Um One interesting thing that I've heard over and over and over again is that what really makes a man feel emasculated is if he, typically speaking, if he doesn't feel like a provider in some way, shape, or form. I wanted to address this because I didn't want it to come across like I was saying in my last video, you have to be like a part of those gender roles of like the woman stays at home and all that. I think all that's ridiculous. I mean, I understand kind of where they get that from with the Proverbs 31, but if you read about what a Proverbs 31 woman is, it's actually like a total boss lady who's like on her game, but like knows her jurisdiction. And in addition to that, if a woman knows her jurisdiction, then a man naturally will or should. And it goes like both ways. But I again think that the women we have more weight in that. We have more pull in that. We can put a man in his place, and if we do so respectfully, he's gonna rise to the occasion. Whereas like if a man tries to put a woman in her place, it can not go well. It's like, you gonna tell me? Like, no, but yeah, I think you get what I mean. Again, way with words, right? So, help me, Lord. Um, yeah, so I heard that like over and over, like what a man needs to feel like a man typically is to in some way, shape, or form be that provider, um, take on that provider role. And I find that really interesting because one of the things for women is nurturer, right? And that's essentially the same thing, but just we kind of see it in different ways. But we both have a need to be needed. And that's just, the gist of being a human being, right? We all want to be needed, we all want to be wanted. So, spiritually, when you see a woman, you see all the traits, and maybe there's more. That's just what I was given. But you see all the traits that I mentioned, wisdom and favor and all that. When you see a man, you see like provider, strength, covering. And so, spiritually speaking, not only are there graces, but there's also unfortunately afflictions that the enemy can use against this spiritual DNA that has been naturally passed down to us. So I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, for men at least, but for women, for a lot of us, we have encountered something sexist. If not us personally, we know someone who has, or just the legacy of women in general. And it's like, you know, certain ideas, laws, whatever came against our natural, these natural graces. And I've kind of fed us this lie that, we're not this or we're not that, or whatever the case is. And it's had detrimental effects throughout history. And now, some would argue, I'm not taking a side here, but some would argue that now it's gotten to the point where now, women control everything or whatever. Like, I don't know, people were like, now things are out of hand. The women want rights now. But, yeah, there's just this idea, I guess, that like, the tables have kind of turned. And I'm starting to ramble, but yeah, whether you agree with that or whether you don't, when you come against someone's spiritual identity, I've talked about this before, when it comes to the weight of words in general, gossip, slander, all that kind of stuff. The reason why it's talked about as a sin is because you're going against this identity that God himself did not put on that person, does not see that person in that light, and you're trying to play God and call them anything from anything negative, basically. I guess the same could be for if you were to say something positive that like put them up on a pedestal or something. We don't have as many examples of that, but when you come against the identity that the Lord himself has ordained on all people, on that man, on that woman, you potentially put yourself in danger spiritually. So, that's it. I'm gonna start speaking out of flesh if I keep going. So let me not do that. That's all he's given me. That's all I'm gonna say. Have a good day. Bye.